right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, guys, and thank you for tuning into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. Will be joined by Chris Mueller in a matter of moments, and we're going to be talking about the Steelers and their quarterback. No controversy anymore, their quarterback situation. It is now Russell Wilson's job. Justin Fields led them to a 4-2 record, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, but this offense is still not really effective at times, inconsistent, I would say. One of the worst offenses in the NFL. They're near the bottom. Ranked 20 points per game, ranked about 26th, I think, in total points. So I think it was the right time to make the move, but I could make a debate either way. Maybe you should have kept Justin Fields in there after they won in Vegas. They're rolling with them right now. At least they're winning. I don't know if their offense is rolling, but they're winning. So I don't think it has torn the locker room, if anyone's concerned about that at all. I don't think that's the case whatsoever. But now we're going to get to see the Russell Wilson era in Pittsburgh, Chris.
So to be clear, who do you think should start on Sunday night? If you were the head coach of the team, who would you start?
If I was the head coach of the team, I would go with Fields one more week, at least.
So would I. And I think they're sacrificing a lot of things that Fields does do objectively well. Run the ball, make chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what when the blocking goes awry. And they are sacrificing that at the altar of, we think Russell Wilson is going to unlock something fundamentally in our passing game that Justin Fields could not, except you can look at Russell Wilson's numbers and have one picture painted for you from last year in Denver, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. You could actually look at the film and see that he was a deep ball thrower, and that was it, and he was okay at it. He throws a pretty deep ball. It wasn't always effective. And otherwise, he was a check-down artist who ignored the middle of the field in Sean Payton's offense. And so when you combine those factors here and you consider the fact that they're starting Ryan McCollum, who's got one start in his career at center, and that their line has been inconsistent, to put it charitably otherwise, I think this is a recipe for disaster against a pretty talented Jets defense, Richie. And you poo-pooed it a little bit. You said they're averaging 20 points per game. I think it's 20.7, so almost 21.
21, okay. Yeah. They could be averaging much more. They could be averaging much more, Chris.
Hold on. Yeah. That's not why I bring it up. That is the highest point total that they have averaged through this many games since, like, 2020. Like, it's been a while since you've even had an offense here that's managed 3 touchdowns in a game. They could have a lot more. Fields is coming off of, I think, his weakest performance in the passing game, but I think he deserves another start. But this makes it very clear that this really was Mike Tomlin's plan all along. He never made Fields the starter on the depth chart. And I will give Fields a ton of credit, man. He handled that media availability phenomenally well today. I mean, that is as professional. I don't even want to say classy. It was very classy, but professional and mature and level-headed and kind of internalizing, or I should say self-critical evaluation, I think, that you could hear a guy give. It was like the polar opposite of Kenny Pickett being asked if he learned anything on the bench and going, no.
Yeah, I was really surprised because I asked him that question. I said, is it frustrating at all? Because you have a 4-2 record. If you played well at times, that this is the situation. And he gave an answer that he wasn't good enough. I was really surprised. And I really respect him for giving that answer.
I just think that you saw in that media scrum today with him why so many people, even people who felt like he couldn't get the job done on the field in Chicago, media, fans there, but also especially his teammates, just had enormous respect for him as a leader and as a guy in the locker room, which is obviously important at that position. I just thought he handled that tremendously well, and in so doing, I think took a lot of pressure off of Mike Tomlin. Tomlin's going to get scrutinized by the fans for this, and there are plenty of reports out there, Richie, that the coaching staff is not united in this decision, that there are coaches who think Fields should still be the starting quarterback. But at least internally, Justin Fields took a lot of heat, turned the heat way down inside that locker room on his coach with what he said.
So here's my problem with this, and I agree. I would have stuck with Fields at least until he didn't perform well. Maybe pull him out at halftime, third quarter, if things aren't working well, one of the next 2 games, or wait to the bye week, depending. I just think that now you have nowhere to go. What happens if Wilson goes in there and struggles? 40 passer rating, throws 3 interceptions, whatever, can't do anything. Now you're stuck, right? Like, what do? Okay, we're going to go back to Fields now?
Yes, you got 2 games, Russell Wilson. You're a big boy. Go handle it. Go show that you're ready. Knock the rust off in 2 series, not 2 games, not 2 quarters. Mike Tomlin talks often about how he trusts veteran players to get on that moving train much faster than younger guys. See, like Roman Wilson, for example, as a younger guy who can't get on that train. Wilson should be able to do his thing quickly, and if he shows nothing in the next 2 games, regardless of what their record is, really, I think, even if they're 2-0, if he plays really poorly, I think you use that bye week to evaluate and go right back to Fields if you think that's the best plan. I don't think that'll happen because I think he'll be better than that, and they'll probably go at least 1-1. They won't go 0-2, I don't think, but I would not hesitate if Wilson looks really bad to pull the trigger on going right back to Fields. Like, what are you doing here if you're Mike Tomlin? Are you making a promise and then like upholding it the rest of the season to a veteran quarterback, or are you trying to win football games?
Sports Illustrated GMC tweeted tonight, Bradley Locker here, Steelers safety Deshaun Elliott this year, 81.1 overall PFF grade, 9th among safeties, 90 against the run, 5th among all defenders, 0 missed tackles. Every time you turn on the tape, Elliott flashes. Was a super unsung pickup for Pittsburgh, but he's been huge. I agree with him. You know, Deshaun Elliott's everywhere. I know people will be critical that he couldn't make that play to lose the Dallas Cowboys game, but he was right on him. It was just a good pass and catch right there. I really like the way Deshaun Elliott has played this year.
I think one of the things that Elliott's done really well, he's been rock solid. He's been their most consistent, maybe not their best, but their most consistent defender. I think he's shown up in every game. I really disagree with Mike Tomlin's evaluation of Patrick Queen that he has continued to give, where he's been pleased with his progress. I think Queen only this past week, played his best game. And I think that one of the reasons that their defense has largely looked pretty good, especially against the run, is you haven't had a boatload of missed tackles, and Elliott has papered over some of their weakness early on at linebacker. Not a ballyhooed pickup, just like the tweet said, but he's been terrific for them.
I know it took me 10 minutes to get to this, but I love the shield on the black vest that you have right there. Longview Club, one of the best golf courses around.
Richie, I thought that you would immediately notice it. I thought that it would be the first thing you'd say. I was wearing my Sunday red underneath it here. I mean, this is a true fall golf piece of attire that I've got going on here. I'm all ready for some fall rounds on the old course.
Yeah, I think you're making a case for an invitation out there. So I was going to get to it, but I was in a roll on the quarterback situation. So I wanted to start the second segment off with it. So one of the things you brought up in the first segment, Chris, and that's my biggest concern about making the switch right now. You have so many injuries up front. Justin Fields gives you the ability to be elusive and get away from rushes, and I think that's what the Steelers need right now. Maybe he isn't as good of a quarterback going through progressions, but he's a better quarterback and maybe getting out of danger right now, and I think that's what the Steelers need.
Why? Let me ask you this. I don't mean to sound combative here, even though it probably comes off that way.
Please,
just because you brought it up. Well, just because you brought it up, why do we know for a fact that Russell Wilson is so much better at going through progressions? Because to me, one of the markers of that is your average time to throw. If you're getting the ball out in 2.5 to 2.6 seconds, and people need to understand that a half second is an eternity when we're talking about these things, then I understand, okay, you're getting through your progressions, you know where you want to go with the ball. Russell Wilson last year was slightly slower than Justin Fields has been so far this year on average time to throw. The guy does not get rid of the ball quickly. And then when he does finally get rid of it, it's usually one of two things. It's either he checks it down within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage or less, or he heaves one up deep. So everyone has said, and everyone has implied, that because he's a veteran, I heard he won a Super Bowl, except that was over a decade ago, that Russell Wilson is a much savvier guy in terms of his reads and his understanding of a passing concept. the numbers don't suggest that that's actually the case, or if he does know it all so much better than Fields, he doesn't actually implement it in a practically useful way when he's on the football field. So I don't really see the level of upside from Russell Wilson, the passer, here to, I guess, to justify what they're doing. And I was somebody, Richie, that at the start of the year thought Russell Wilson should have been the quarterback. When people were kind of clamoring for Fields just because they were drooling over the athletic ability, I said, no, go with Wilson. Well, I've seen enough, from Fields, and I've also seen some of the Steelers' deficiencies that he covers up to think that he should still be their quarterback.
I do notice it in practice. The way he goes through his progressions, and like he's making a point to go through to scan the entire field. And that's one of the reasons I bring it up. Also, I know Jerry Dulac and I were talking about on Inside the Huddle, which you were my former co-host of that show, and we were talking about how the audibles will be open to Russell Wilson this week and beyond because he is a veteran that Justin Fields didn't have that option.
I mean, is Justin Fields really a rookie? Is he Spencer Rattler tonight on Thursday Night Football? The guy has made 44 starts as an NFL quarterback. He has 6 more starts in games that matter in Arthur Smith's offense than Russell Wilson does. Again, I think there are a lot of, maybe people are, Jerry is obviously very plugged in, and I'm sure he's getting this from people inside the organization, but man, they are making a lot of allowances and giving Russell Wilson a lot of deference on a pretty flimsy basis, at least when it comes to his time with the Steelers. Mike Tomlin usually will say this about players who are coming here. Even if they're good players, he'll say, well, I didn't really know them until we got them in the building here. Like, it's different being a Steeler than it is playing elsewhere. And I guess I'm just surprised that there is this assumption that Russell Wilson's going to come in, because this is the sense I get. People are assuming, the people who believe Wilson's got the right choice here, that he's going to come in and look like 2016 or 2017 Russell Wilson. That guy hasn't existed for a while now, Richie.
Well, I mean, Justin Fields, only won 10 games in all those starts. And you can look at last year with Russell Wilson. I'm just going to play devil's advocate here. He won 5 straight games, all against playoff teams.
Okay, but Justin Fields won 4 starts in 6 games here. Like, the Steelers are a flawed franchise, but they are a way better one than the Bears. And the Steelers also lost 2 games this year that, unless you really are motivated to do so, it's hard to pin on Justin Fields. He played badly in the first half against Dallas. Okay, fine. He rallied them back to a 17-13 lead that their defense couldn't hold. He had a bad fumble in the Colts game, but a George Pickens fumble and some horrible defense early in that one dug them a hole that he almost climbed all the way out of. Like, you're benching the guy ultimately here, I think, because the head coach is enamored with the veteran quarterback, and unless Justin Fields had been 6-0 or had all pro level passing statistics, he just was not going to give him the job over Russell Wilson when Russell Wilson was fully ready.
But don't you think he's enamored with Justin Fields' running ability as well? And that's back to that original point that I wanted to make to you about the offensive line being so banged up right now. Wouldn't you rather have a guy like Fields back there?
I would think so, because Russell Wilson's not going to be like Joe Flacco in Indy getting the ball out in 2.5 seconds flat. He's just never been that player. So Mike Tomlin's putting his neck on the line here. They're 4-2, and I think a lot of people, even if they were so-so on Fields, the passer, would have given them a good chance to go into the bye week at 6-2 and beat both of these New York teams. You go 1-1, or you go, God forbid, 0-2 heading into your bye week, and Wilson doesn't look good, and you've got that meat grinder of a schedule coming up down the stretch. There's going to be a lot of deserved heat on Mike Tomlin for making this decision, specifically when he made it.
Who benefits the most? George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, Najee Harris. Who benefits the most out of this quarterback change? Also, and when we brought up audibles, does Russell Wilson allow them not to run the ball 95% of the time on first downs?
I mean, those are maybe, but those seem to be Arthur Smith decisions, Mike Tomlin decisions. They run it way too much on first down, although I don't think maybe it's as high as the perception ends up being, because sometimes I think they drop back to pass and then they just don't find anything. But the biggest beneficiary better be George Pickens. I mean, that's what Russell Wilson did last year for some of his touchdowns. He told Cortland Sutton, go up and get it, and Cortland Sutton did, and he's a big, strong wide receiver just like George Pickens. If it doesn't benefit Pickens more than anybody, then the Steelers, again, I would say, have a very big problem on their hands.
Let's go to Randy in Maryland. How you doing, Randy?
How you doing? It's Brandy, actually. I'm calling from Maryland. But, yeah, I want to give a shout-out to my former news director, David Ballarado, at Pitt's campus radio station. But I want to talk about the Pitt Panthers, the proud Pitt grad here, undefeated first. I guess it's their best season in years, I think over 40 years.
1982.
What are your thoughts? Yeah, what are your thoughts on Pitt running the table, winning the national championship? And I guess
I know this guy's optimistic. I love it. I'm a Pitt guy, too. So I don't think they're going to run the table. I am worried about these next two games for Pitt, for sure. Syracuse and SMU.
I think I speak for, well, myself and, well, probably most people who listen to the PM team when I say, please, for the love of God, beat Syracuse. If you lose to SMU, fine, I'll live with it. But please, please, please beat Syracuse. Also, I don't think they're going to run the table because teams that are 6-0 at this point in power conferences usually are dominant, and Pitt has been squeaking by in too many games.
All right, they're one heck of a season. All right, let's get back to your Steelers prediction. That's what we do here on Thursday night. I like the Steelers. Don't call me a homer. I like the Steelers 27-26 here to win this game. What do you think?
Richie, you're a rank homer. I don't really know how you could possibly do this. You know what? Just because I'm selfish, I'm going to say that since they're not making the quarterback decision I would make, it'll come back to bite them, and the Jets win 20-14.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Chris. I enjoyed being on the show with you, especially with that vest. I'll see you next week. Same time, same place, right here. Hopefully I see you on KDK News in just a few minutes.